The deadliest U.S. tornado season in 14 years strikes again, this time at least 44 dead and counting as tornadoes rake the southeast. Alabama at ground zero. Near Birmingham, a church takes a crushing tornado hit, but the congregation inside is spared. A pilot's life hangs by a thread. You will see the dramatic end to a daring high-wire rescue. And Eye on America, the state-of-the-art in shelters for the homeless. But wait till you see who's living there.
This is the CBS Evening News. With Dan Rather reporting from CBS News headquarters in New York.
Good evening. New and tragic evidence that April is the cruelest and deadliest month of the spring tornado season. This is the scene today. Whole neighborhoods wiped off the map near Birmingham, Alabama, where in this area alone at least 32 persons died. But the overnight storms and twisters and search and rescue today go much wider. The tornado terror stretched across 3 states, from Georgia to Mississippi. But it was Alabama that took the deadliest hit. One monster tornado near Birmingham tore up a path a mile wide and 15 miles long. CBS's Art Rascon is at ground zero.
Everywhere you look, there is massive destruction. 3 counties were hit hard by at least 2 twisters, maybe more.
I thought we were gone.
68-year-old Frederick Johnson somehow survived, even after being buried underneath his house, reduced to 4 feet of rubble.
Rain started hitting. I knew then the top was gone. And then about a few seconds later, the floor started doing this.
Up and down.
Up and down. Just started doing it.
And what did you do?
Just laid there and prayed.
Tornade warnings began to sound 2 hours before the twisters hit. Then, at about 8:30, a time when most were at home, the fury of 250-mile-per-hour winds roared through. Dozens of parishioners were inside this church praying when the twister toppled the roof. Miraculously, no one was killed. When the storms finally passed, nearly 200 lay injured and hundreds of homes destroyed. Rebecca Eastridge was in her living room when the tornado tore through her house and tossed her 50 yards.
And I ain't never seen nothing this bad, never.
For 6-year-old Brandon, his world has been destroyed. He returned this morning to what little was left of his home.
Find all my toys and find some dogs and stuff like that.
You're searching for your toys?
Yeah, and the dogs.
The hundreds left homeless from the tornadoes will be spending their second night in shelters. Meantime, the National Guard, along with other emergency search and rescue teams, will be working through the night, searching for those still missing. Art Rascon, CBS News, Birmingham.
Joining us now, Mary Buckalow with the Jefferson County Emergency Team. She's been working non-stop since the tornado hit and has seen the destruction firsthand. Ms. Buckalow, thank you for doing this. We're sorry this has happened to you and your community. But tell me what you saw. You spent the day looking at devastation.
Yes, we did. We have a 25-mile long path, about approximately a mile wide swath through our county. It's devastation at its worst as far as I'm concerned. Homes are relocated, dismantled, and destroyed. We have 1,600 homes that have been affected on this thing, and 500 of those are totaled out. And you have to wonder just what treasures these people have lost, accounting for personal objects, but the lives that we've lost. We are confirming 28 fatalities and 221 injuries, and that is our biggest loss.
Is there any doubt in your mind that the loss of life figures will go up?
I pray they don't, Dan, but I can't say for certain now they won't, because we have large wooded areas that the trees are just packed down like toothpicks in a box, and we don't know for sure what's underneath all of that.
We've been told that in southwest Jefferson County and the neighborhoods around McDonald Chapel and Edgewater that they, quote, are gone. They simply no longer exist, unquote. Have you been to those areas, and is that true?
Yes, sir. We're at them now. And if you look behind me here, we have a church that had 60-something people in it last night, and we were blessed that we had 7 churches in these communities totally destroyed and no loss of human life.
Mary Buckaloo, Head of Emergency Management, Jefferson County, Alabama. Thank you. We admire your guts and your grace in this situation.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you. We need your prayers, too.
You have them.
All right, sir.
As we told you, Alabama took the hardest hit, but next door in Georgia, severe storms, including tornadoes, brought disaster near Savannah and several counties around Atlanta. CBS's Jim Axelrod is covering for us there.
The thunder and lightning rolled in just after midnight. And with them, house-wrecking, metal-twisting winds, the kind that not only snap power lines, but slice utility towers clean in half. A former federal emergency management worker, Gail Milhouse had seen plenty of disasters, but never was he the victim of one.
And I was standing here, and I got pulled up in this direction toward that hole. And, you know, my feet were about this high off the ground, and my head was just about on the ceiling itself.
2 people are dead in these well-to-do suburbs just north of Atlanta. But the sad stories extend to communities across the state. For instance, 2 children died in a rural county northeast of here, where 11 other people were killed by a twister just 3 weeks back. From Atlanta, the tornado slammed 200 miles south, hitting Fort Stewart near Savannah. 1 soldier was killed. By mid-morning, the cleanup started, survivors marveling at their close brush with tragedy.
Even my trash can sitting right there didn't move. So the tornado just kind of, you can see, just sheared off the trees right above the roof levels. And I guess if it had been just a few feet lower, the houses would be gone.
So while a dozen families in Georgia are making funeral plans for this holiday weekend, others are feeling grateful for answered prayers. Jim Axelrod, CBS News, Atlanta.
As Art Rascone reported earlier, there was another tornado survival story today, this one from Alabama. CBS's Bob McNamara tells you why some are calling it the miracle of the open door church.
In this holy week of hellish weather, people here have found a symbol of faith amid misfortune. The story of the storm and the open door church.
It was unreal, except we could feel the hand of God protecting us. I can tell you that.
Church members came back today to search through the mess and talk about the miracle.
If you're looking for a miracle in the 90s, this is it.
Today, the church is collapsed in a tangle, beams taking the place of people in the pews. But last night, the building was crowded for choir practice when word came that a twister was headed for the little church on the hill.
One of the men from outside said it's coming over the hill, and just in no time, there it was.
It was this hallway that became a safe haven. In here, between these walls, 67 people, men, women, and children, laid down at the height of the storm and began singing, praying for their lives.
We had a lot of people praying. Yeah.
What prayers were they saying?
Well, you know, just that for safety, that no one would be killed.
They all walked out, some with cuts and bruises, but many with new proof that prayers are answered.
Prayer, what saved this bunch. Prayer, prayer.
This place is becoming a kind of pilgrimage for people in this part of Alabama. And today they came by the dozens to salvage Bibles, to see how the hallway stood when everything else was lost, to marvel at the tragedy that might have been.
I can't believe we survived it, to tell you the truth. If we were anywhere else but where we were, we probably would have been buried.
It may be the only bright spot on this dark day, but for these people, it's enough. Here, where old-time religion never got old-fashioned, they're not just gathering their belongings, they're counting their blessings. Bob McNamara, CBS News, Birmingham.
El Nino caused some unusual tornado activity during the winter. Now the spring tornado season is just getting started, and in a moment we'll talk to our CBS News consultant, Dr. Neil Frank, about the forecast for the rest of the spring. Also ahead, a boost for Japan's economy on our CBS Market Watch, the animal shelter with a colored TV in each room, and the pilot who found himself 60 feet high and hung upside down. In this El Nino year, spring tornado season hit hard and early and deadly well before spring. Florida got its deadliest tornado hit ever. That was in February. More than 40 dead in that. Then in late March, a killer tornado hit St. Peter, Minnesota. And the normal spring weather patterns are a powerful tornado engine in and of themselves. That's with or without El Nino. The outcome this year, a tornado belt, and within that belt, a deadly and dangerous, especially dangerous tornado alley. Traditionally, May and June have the most tornadoes. So what's ahead for tornado season this time? 1998, we turn to CBS News consultant meteorologist Dr. Neil Frank of our CBS affiliate in Houston, KHOU. Are the tornadoes we're seeing stronger and more frequent because of El Nino?
Oh, there's no question about that, Dan, in the sense that during El Nino years, you have Pacific storms move from west to east across the United States, in contrast to non-El Nino years when we have Canadian storms move north to south all the way to the Gulf Coast, and that's particularly true in the winter. So what we're seeing is these Pacific storms making contact with the moisture from Gulf of Mexico. That raises the possibility of tornadoes, severe thunderstorms in the deep heart of the winter, the January and February, and of course that's what we experienced in Florida in February.
Well, let's review what regions are expected to be hit by whatever tornadoes develop over the next month to 60 days.
Well, I think basically that's going to be the tornado alley. That's going to be the Texas on up through the middle part of the country and sweeping east all the way to the East Coast. We're probably not going to see as many tornadoes in the deep south like the Florida and maybe the coastal areas of Georgia.
Dr. Frank, thanks. And we'll have more news in a moment. 24 hours ago, President Clinton was warning tobacco companies they're making a big mistake in walking away from the big tobacco settlement deal. Today, the president was in the heart of tobacco growing country in Kentucky. The reception was mostly polite as he pledged to, quote, do right by the families that grow tobacco. But the president emphasized he will still fight against teen smoking. Well, what kind of day did you have? Chances are it had to be better than Mike Warren's, unless you too spent 4 hours upside down in an airplane dangling from a high-tension wire. CBS's Jerry Bowen now with the story Ripley wouldn't believe.
This is what it means to land on a wing and a prayer. Make that a wheel and a power line, as pilot Mike Warren learned the hard way this morning.
I thought that somebody was looking after me. I wasn't going to look a gift horse in the mouth, so I stayed real calm.
Warren was making a routine landing at Seattle's Boeing Field when air turbulence from another plane forced him back in the air and into the power lines, 60 feet off the ground.
It's like a bungee. You hit it and it just took, and the prop hit him, and there's a couple big fireballs from the sparks going off and all. And
strapped in his seat, hanging upside down, the 47-year-old Warren radioed the control tower to make the understatement of the day.
I think I said something like, I think I have a situation here. And they, the lady called back and said, yeah. I said, you're hanging by one wheel.
For nearly 4 hours, Warren hung in there as the power lines were shut off, cranes were brought in to support the plane, and firefighters tried to reach him.
Well, once you're hanging from the wheel, about the only thing you can do is, yell, "Help, Mr. Wizard, get me out of here."
And finally, on the wing and many prayers, Warren was pulled to safety.
Are you a religious guy? Or?
I am now.
And tonight, Mike Warren feels really lucky. So lucky, he's going out to buy a ticket for the Washington State Lottery. Jerry Bowen, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Country music legend Tammy Wynette was buried today following a song-filled funeral in Nashville. This evening, more tributes at a public memorial service. Among the singers, Dolly Parton.
The gift of love divine.
Tonight is the deadline for what could be a historic agreement to end decades of religious and political conflict in Northern Ireland. Peace talks are going down to the wire in Belfast. CBS's chief European correspondent Tom Fenton is on the scene.
No one expected this to be an easy negotiation. It's still not certain whether Catholics and Protestants will accept a new deal for Northern Ireland designed to end one of the world's longest-running conflicts. After 30 years of violence in which community life was torn apart and more than 3,200 persons died, the latest victim just 2 days ago, the formula for peace is almost as complex as the Irish problem itself. Instead of being ruled from London, Northern Ireland would have its own assembly. It also calls for new links between the Irish government in Dublin and Britain, and a new executive body with representatives from the British North and the Irish South to deal with issues affecting the whole of Ireland. It was this North-South body that Protestants objected to and which caused the crisis. They feared it would lead to the Catholic goal of a united Ireland. Any agreement would have to be put to a referendum in the North, and the Irish government in Dublin would have to give up its territorial claims on Northern Ireland. No piece of paper will bring instant peace, but an agreement here tonight would be the crucial first step. Tom Fenton, CBS News, Belfast.
Tragedy struck today in Mecca. A stampede broke out as Muslim pilgrims swarmed across an overpass in the desert on the last day of the annual Islamic Hajj. More than 150 people were killed, most of them trampled to death. On the CBS News Worldwide Market Watch, Japan's prime minister is bowing to pressure from the USA and others. He announced a major tax cut today to try to jumpstart the sagging Japanese economy. Despite the financial troubles throughout Asia, McDonald's says it's going ahead with plans to open 2,000 restaurants there. Chrysler had its best first quarter ever. Profits topped $1 billion. The latest inflation check doesn't find any, not at the wholesale level. Prices fell in March for the 5th straight month. Mortgage rates are down as well. A 30-year fixed now averages 7.09%. The stock market will be closed Good Friday. Today, the Dow rose 103 points to finish the week with a net gain of 11 points. For the year, it's up just under 14%. In Rome, a Holy Thursday tradition, Pope John Paul washed the feet of 12 priests, just as Jesus, in an act of humility, washed the feet of the 12 apostles before the Last Supper. The Pope urged the faithful to show humility toward the neediest. Tonight's Eye on America may very well get you thinking about how our nation treats some of the neediest among us. CBS News correspondent Richard Schlesinger now has a tale of two shelters.
It is bright and cheery and spick and span. One of San Francisco's newest shelters is as surprising as the homeless clients it serves.
They've been neglected. In some cases, they've been taken advantage of. We have to overcome that past.
Richard Avanzino presides over the facility that offers private rooms with color TVs and a chance for its homeless residents to get back on their feet. All 4 feet. Avanzino is the director of the San Francisco Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals.
These are family members. These are dogs. Our best buddies.
Avanzino's best buddies, man's best friend, get the best of everything here. 21 private rooms for dogs with rugs and cushions and clean enough to eat off the floor. At the SPCA shelter, life on a leash is lush.
It's really designed for home-style living. We want to introduce them to what it's going to be like when we pair them up with somebody that's going to love them for a lifetime.
At Avanzino's luxurious shelter, the animals have class time and play time. The only thing missing is 24-hour quality time with humans. Avanzino's idea, homeless animals could share their shelter overnight with homeless people.
Here you go. Isn't that much better? We've said to the homeless community, we will give you an opportunity to get out of the cold, have a respite from an otherwise cruel world, and accompany one of our canines who is learning what it's like to have a best buddy.
You doing today? Oh, you're excited.
Avanzino's idea for his new shelter came just as the city of San Francisco opened its new shelter for homeless humans. 600 men and women, more accustomed to a cold shoulder than a cold nose.
We've really sunk to some pretty low depths when we're building better housing for dogs than we are for people.
Bowden believes the SPCA invitation to San Francisco's homeless people is troubling, even though he knows some will welcome it.
Would you move in there? Would you move into the dog shelter?
Well, sure. I mean, I'm kind of tired of some of these human roommates. I mean, not that they're all, bad, but...
Because it is the animal shelter.
Well, this is like the animal farm. So, I mean, what's the difference?
But there are people in this shelter willing to turn their back on the SPCA shelter.
I don't know, it's just like being used as a guinea pig and thrown in there for some kind of experiment.
In many ways, this is a story about animals, people, and numbers. The city of San Francisco spent $150,000 for this shelter. The SPCA raised $7 million from private donors for this one.
Is it easier to sell people on sheltering animals than it is sheltering people?
Oh, absolutely.
It is.
A lot easier.
Avanzino may have a simple plan, but it is not easy. He doesn't have facilities to feed or bathe humans here. And until those problems are solved, the only homeless San Franciscans living in luxury may not be able to realize how lucky they are. For Eye on America, I'm Richard Schlesinger in San Francisco.
And that's part of our world tonight. I'll be back later on this CBS station with 48 Hours. Harold Dow has a preview.
Tonight, what happens if someone steals your identity?
My social security number, license number, furniture, a leased apartment, a brand new car.
Could it happen to you?
It's changed my life. I'm a victim of stolen identity.
Later on 48 Hours.
Later is 10 o'clock, 9 Central, here on the CBS television network. Now, for the CBS Evening News, Dan Rather reporting. I'll see you again soon on 48 Hours.
They told her it was indigestion. That was before she almost died of a heart attack. Now a new test can help prevent misdiagnosis. How it works tomorrow on the CBS Evening News.
Experience CBS News.